Moving right along, this is what I chose to have on the website, what I wanted you to know about me for tonight. I wrote here that Leopoldo's lifetime journey of choice has been to understand what it means to be human. His extensive research, primarily starting with trying to understand his own experience, has produced a particular interest in spoken word poets, philosophical ramblers, storytellers, songwriters singing their own songs, and stand-up comedians whose amazing talking animal tricks often seem like magic to him and bring out the magic in everyday life. He loves to improvise on the piano, drink coffee with friends, and engage in all kinds of conversation, even small talk, but is genetically disposed to move to conversations that provoke and puzzle. Lately, he realized that poetry bridge is not just a fun thing to do, but also an absolute necessity for maintaining his humanness and soul. So, when I first put myself in for tonight, I was thinking this was going to be easy because I got tons of poems that I've never read. And I just thought I'd dust them off and maybe polish them up a little bit, need a little polishing, and that would be it. And then I heard Lydia Schwartz read last month. Some of you were, I think, here. And she did something that I thought was really courageous, which she said afterwards she never really does, which is be very autobiographical. And it was pretty raw at times. Anyway, I talked to her afterwards, and I ended up being inspired to not just dust off the old stuff, but actually share whatever was current with me, and kind of strike out a more autobiographical thing. And so this is what you're going to hear tonight. So I realized that the closer I got to tonight, the more terrified I became. This one's called Rehearsal. I'm sitting in the doctor's office back in one of the patient room with my 96-year-old mother while the nurse takes her blood pressure, using one of those automatic, computerized, self-regulating infernal contraptions that you can buy at the local drugstore, which makes no use of the training that required her to actually listen to the heartbeat with a stethoscope and make good judgment calls on the road to her bedside manner. As the machine pumps away, building up more and more pressure, my mother's face gets more and more contorted, scrunched up like the horsehide on a baseball at the moment it is hammered by the bat before it disappears over ivory-covered walls. Her arm begins to rise with the cuff hanging off, resembling a kind of power to the people salute, her arm rising higher with each pump, fist pointing upward to the acoustic tile ceiling that I begin to imagine was installed to muffle any screaming that might occur within these walls. The nurse peers intently at the small LED screen, oblivious that at every pump, my mother clenches her jaw even tighter like a pit bull latching on to a toy poodle in the park. I try to be helpful by making suggestions to relax and to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, reminding her that it will help her stay calm and keep her blood pressure down, so she doesn't have to do it all over again when the doctor comes in. Of course, my good advice has no discernible effect, and the results are quite predictable. The numbers are high, as expected, and I resign myself, my mom having to go through it all over again. So when the doctor comes in, naturally she wants to do it all over again, and she whips out that infernal contraption, and I can see my mom's face start to tighten up again, and I just have to do something. So I tell the doctor what happened with the nurse and make some more suggestions. It's congenital, I know. Starting with suggesting she do it the old-fashioned way, so the pumping pressure can ease up gradually and only as high as needed. And then I recall what the x-ray technician did earlier that week, telling my mom what he was going to do before he did it, calling it a rehearsal. So my mother knew what to expect and could think through what she was going to do, so I blurted out, perhaps a rehearsal would help. And to my amazement, the doctor, who has been examining me curiously with her head cocked to the side at this brash interloper, registers a look of sudden recognition, nods her head vigorously and says, "That's a good idea." As if all those medical people had gotten the same training on the same day, but she had just forgotten it. So she begins to walk my mother through what she is going to do, and this time that I promote chanting, which in my defense really helped years ago in preparing my mother to face surgery. This time my advice appears to land, and lo and behold, It is like one of those before and after ads. You know where the after picture shows someone barely resembling that before person holding up what appears to be really huge pants that are way too big for them? Or those comic book ads when I was 12 years old that showed a 90-pound weakling getting sand kicked in his face, and after doing all the muscle building stuff is all muscles himself, and decisively deals with the beach bully to the admiration of all those bikini-clad girls. This time, my mother's eyes are closed. She's chanting to herself, I presume. And she has this, I swear, a sort of Mona Lisa-like demeanor. And the reading is good, real good. And I feel like jumping up and grabbing a bully in a headlock and holding up the way too large pants and shouting, "It's a miracle." Later I got to thinking about rehearsal and chanting about calming the mind and wondering if maybe my life would have gone a little better if during my tough moments I could have had a little rehearsal time and thought things through before I just jumped in with every pump of adrenaline spurring me on to my own version of contorted face, clenched jaw, and power to the people salute. It's all rehearsal, anyway, for whatever comes next, the next time around. I'm going to keep the mind calm. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This was called Instructions. These are not just nitrous oxide fantasies to amuse you, to pass the time, to be dismissed and easily forgotten. I have been talking to God. Yes, I said it. I have been talking to God. No, that's not quite right. God has been talking to me, which isn't quite right either, especially since the word God means such different things to different people. God or no God. It's more like the fire hose of revelation has been screwed tight on my brain with a torque wrench and turned full force. Enlightenment just pouring in and blasting away the debris, clearing the pathways for the real stuff. I mean, resistance is not a viable option. At that moment, and there is only one moment, at that moment, every question is answered. The connection of everything to everything is rapidly made clear, and every one is revealed to be up to pretty much the same thing. The do-gooders, the evildoers, the straight and the narrow, the wayward ones, all of us stumbling our way to Bethlehem. Even my maternal grandmother, who taught me many things, none more important than providing safe shelter to those living in fear. But the details of my revelation have always been difficult to convey. The look I usually get is the one most preschoolers see when they bring home a muddy swirl of watercolors that's placed on a refrigerator with pride with the words, "That's good, you did a nice job." So I've been taking to keeping this to myself. At least I've been trying. Not that it's a secret or anything. I assume everyone has access through direct dialing. Maybe it's out in the woods at dusk, or walking on the beach with the sound of waves, or feeling the warm sun on your face on a crisp fall day, or watching your grandchildren play, or holding an aging parent as the last breath is taken. But it comes with knowing. Knowing it all somehow fits together, is exactly what it can be, how it's supposed to be. As for me, although the details of revelation vary, I get the same final instructions. Don't start your own cult, although it is tempting. Simply love one another, even those you want to turn away from. Help out. Do what you can, it will be all right. And now when I go to the dentist, the latest instruction, don't talk about it, just do it. A dear friend of mine that we sort of lost that friendship for a really long, terrible time for me, I think for him too, and finally came back together again, only to have him now have multiple surgeries for something that's happening to him. And this last Friday he went into surgery, and Really, he's out in Indianapolis, and I just wanted to be there, more than anything else. And I think that's what he kind of asked for. But in lieu of that, I decided to write a poem every day and send it to him. So Friday was day one. I'm just going to read them to you. Day one. May you welcome the morning dawn, far away on your side of the world, with those you have chosen. Begin the ministry of healing, for on this day something will happen to change the story of your life, a watershed moment. The stream runs to the ocean. Back here where the orcas parts the fog, coffee and the soft lights of Christmas coming, I think of you as you ask me to. Imagine your body cut open to manipulate the mysteries of the inner body, to bring you back to how you were and how you want to be. And wonder if you know how much I want to hold your hand, sit by the side of your bed, and watch you breathe, sleep, and dream like children do, longing for ice cream, promised so long ago. Day two. To wake up and return from faraway places where cliffs crumble to the sea, pulling on rocky shores, your body free falling from clouds, through childhood nightmares, scary dreams, neon glow of intravenous and inhaled agents, so you can tolerate what otherwise would be unbearable pain. To return from this strange and eerie land and see so many tender faces, all around you, all surround you, all embrace you. There is almost too much sweetness in your gaze, all at once, too soon. It is no wonder that you might say, hold the sugar, please. I'll take my tea straight, and linger at the astringent, slightly bitter taste of death. Day three. This woman, who is she? Oh God, I know her face, the way she looks at me. Can you see that haze around her? I'm sure I have slept beside her, cooked her breakfast, wished I had cooked her breakfast. She is holding my hand. Oh God, she's talking to me. I don't know what she's saying. Some other language, the way she parts her lips. I know her. I like her here. Want her to stay. I really want her to stay. She's not a nurse. Oh God, am I dying? Her face is so close. Smells like outdoors. She is kissing my forehead. Who is she? I don't know. I really don't know. I hope she stays. Day four. The child wanders the attic of memory, wearing dark glasses, a clown hat with bangles, avoiding the dark corners where the boogeyman lives. And there, in the middle of the attic, nailed to a dusty rafter, are the 10 Commandments. No elbows on the table. Wipe your nose. Don't talk with your mouth full. No running in the house. No yelling. Shut the door. Eat your vegetables. Don't hit your brother. Honor your father and mother. And the most recent one, obey the nurse. Get out of bed. Go to the bathroom. Walk down the hall. Believe me, I know what's good for you. Just do what I say. That's right. Such a good boy. Day 5. Apparently, there have been complications, and last 2 days have not been good. And my thoughts turn more to his wife, who this poem really was for. I sent it to her today. The water pours from her white porcelain pitcher into a large cracked bowl with a small drain in the center. She stands there intently, so no drop is spilled. The bowl is precious to her and must never stand empty. The need is great, the thirst unquenchable. Her compassion steady, the constant stream of care. As the strain builds throughout her body, her friends whisper encouragement, tell her they are thinking of her, holding her in their hearts, sending good wishes. As the pitcher begins to run dry, She longs for someone to arrive, to bring a new picture, to take a turn, massage her weary arms, place nourishment on her tongue, allow rest and quiet and solitude to refresh her aching back and heart, to return once again to this labor of love, the pouring, the pouring. And this one's called The Amazing Talking Animal. And I suppose it underlies why I love Poetry Bridge so much. The Amazing Talking Animal. Imagine this. My dog starts talking to me. I don't mean I just think I understand what he's trying to communicate. He's really talking. I don't really catch what he says at first, overcome by the shock and sheer amazement and initial disbelief. I look around the room, looking for the source of the spoken word. It takes a while. I mean, it takes a while for it to really sink in that my dog is actually talking, and then to realize he's talking to me. I'm pretty much dumbstruck and tongue-tied. He's looking right at me. His head cocked to the side, one ear flopping down. I know this expression. And then I begin to make out the words. I hear him say, with an accent I can't quite place, "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue?" Imagine I went next door and told my neighbor Judy that my dog could talk. I'm pretty sure her first reaction wouldn't be to ask what the dog said. Content wouldn't really matter. What would be amazing would be that my dog was talking at all. We would be amazed. However, if she said that her dog had started talking too, she might be already past the initial amazement and begin to focus on what the dog was saying, especially if we turned on the TV and CNN had live coverage of reports of talking dogs all over the planet with interviews with real dogs. I suppose it would cause quite a stir for a while until the amazement would fade into no big deal and everyone would start to pay more attention to what they were actually saying. We get to find out if dogs are really man's best friend. But the conversation might turn out to be as mundane as what most people talk about most of the time anyway, like, what's for dinner? Boy, it sure is hot. Hey, what's up? But hopefully, for me anyway, there would be the occasional dog who would talk about animal angst, the fear of death, whether God exists, the meaning of life, that sort of stuff, including the real significance of the butt sniffing that dogs do. But I don't think I would ever get over the fact that my dog could talk. And I would be checking in with him a lot. We would go for long walks and talk about everything. And I would be really interested in just about anything he had to say. And one day I might say, "Do you ever think about poetry?" And he'd always say, "Oh yeah, but I'm not into writing. No opposable thumbs and all. But I love to read out loud." I tell him about this cool poetry reading place, and I try to bring him here as a featured reader. Which brings me to humans, who are the first really amazing talking animals that sometimes read at poetry readings. We humans get all excited when a kid says her first words. You know how it goes. "She talked. Did you hear her talk?" Although we have come to expect people to eventually start talking, so content does count. Was it la or da? The enshrinement of the first word. And of course, at the end, I mean the real end, we're really interested in the last words. There are even studies on when kids usually start talking, so if they're not on schedule, we begin to worry. Are they falling behind? When is she going to start talking? Meanwhile, the dog, before he started talking, says nothing, although his tail wags furiously. I had a cousin who didn't say a word for years, and his parents were pretty anxious about it and took him to specialists to no avail. And then one day he said a whole complete sentence, something like, "I want my blanket." Apparently he could have talked much sooner. He just didn't want to, which brings up another thing. Once the kid starts talking and is really getting the hang of it, at some point we tell him to shut up. Well, sometimes more nicely than that, but eventually it happens. Same thing with walking. That first step, that's really something. You want to be there for that. But then later you hear some version of, "Sit down and shut up." Well, nicer, of course, but talking as well as walking just doesn't seem that amazing anymore. But I'm getting off on a tangent. Here's a poem that my dog wrote before he started talking. It was accompanied with a great deal of tail wagging and head cocking. It went like this. Oh, arf, arf. Woof. Woof. The tail wagging was a really important part of it. Now that we've been talking a lot, however, he came up with the following, which of course I wrote down for him. He's got no opposing thumb. His working title is What Gives? My mind is uneasy, I know not. What gives? Let's take. We cannot separate. Here's the fountain. Where have you taken me? I dream of mountains. Sleeping is not possible. Whatever comes is torn. I have no plunder. Vast lands surround me. I travel on a sea of orange. No one comes to visit me. Wait, wait. The bells ring for you and me. The women gather by the river. I stretch my paws. The edge of time. Come, come. Well, that's what he wrote. Not bad, really. What also amazes me is that human talking animals sometimes take vows of silence. Popular belief credits the Trappist monk as the best example of this, although they don't strictly make a vow of silence, but rather are encouraged to maintain an atmosphere of silence, meaning they can speak when it's needed, like past the Chimay, which is very mean ale brewed by the Trappist in Belgium. The official Guinness World Record credits Brett Banff, at the time college freshman, as the holder of the official world's record of silence by remaining silent for over a year, from August 31st, 2000 to September 5th, 2001, as part of a fundraiser and to become a better listener. And while I'm on the subject of silence, I also have been intrigued with the piece that the avant-garde composer John Cage wrote in 1952 titled 433, which consisted entirely of 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence, except for the ambient sounds that naturally occur during any musical presentation. As for me, I continue to be amazed at talking animals talking. No matter what they say or how they say it, anyone who talks out loud about what's going on for them, that they think is important to utter out loud. I've got a particular attraction for anyone who writes a poem and then reads it. Anyone who tells their own stories. Anyone who speaks their own philosophy. Anyone who stands up and is funny. Anyone performing the amazing magic of simply talking. I just can't get over it. Now I suppose this would be a good time for me to sit down and shut up. Except, I'm going to announce that we're going to take a 10-minute break.